Hello, I'm Ricky.
And I'm Joe, and this is season 9, episode 26, episode 6 of the Beer and Broadband podcast, slated to come out on May 25th, 2026. And we're going to, kind of be on the same topic about LLMs and stuff like that, but we're going to take a turn and talk about private networks and, how they're being used. But first, let's talk about the 1911 Orange Creamsicle Hard Cider. It says on the copy, orange and cream-like R. A. Okay, it looks like an R. Orange and cream-like, a midsummer night's dream, perfect for picnic days and sunny rays. The tried and true flavors of decent vanilla and tangy orange. I'm gonna have to for some of these things. I'm gonna have to take a picture and put it in something else. It's like white on this orange background, and it's so hard to see. But it says, where did I stop? Oh yeah, and Tangy Orange have teamed up to bring you 1911 Orange Creamsicle Hard Cider, your favorite ice cream truck classic in a can. It's 6.9% ABV, and it's by Beacon Skiff, Apple Orchard's 1911 brewery. So it was established in 1911. I'm not sure. They call them the 1911
Gotcha.
ciders, though. So
Okay.
what do you think?
This is pretty good. It's not as sweet as a creamsicle, but it is undeniably a creamsicle.
Yes.
Like the orange and the cream come through really well. It's very clean. It's very crisp. I think if anything, my one demerit to this would be, I think this would be better as a mead than a cider. Because the apple part of the cider does take away a little bit from the orange. And I think that's my only thing. If we didn't have that and we kind of had a little bit more of just the stickier sweetness of a mead, like just that little aftertaste of honey, it would probably meld better. Now, that granted, that's a whole different market. We're essentially jumping from a quick brew to a long brew, not suggesting they change it. But I would say that's the only thing I would think that could improve the overall creamsicle experience. It's very good, though.
This is deceptively crushable for a 7% ABV
Yeah.
cider, which is pretty high for a cider. I think the apple works with the creamsicle flavor for me personally. I get what you're saying about it takes away some of the orange. I still get those citrusy notes. It just feels like a creamsicle. Like everything that you get from a creamsicle with the ice cream on the inside, with the that vanilla flavor, that kind of punch of the coating on your tongue and everything like that. That's all there.
Yeah, I mean, it is very much a creamsicle experience. I would say maybe the way to think about it for people who aren't here tasting it with us, if you ever had the they call it honest apple juice or something like that. It's apple juice they make for kids. That's 50% water, 50% apple juice. If you took a glass of that and you let a creamsicle dissolve in it, that's kind of what this is. There's that. It's not a sweet overall experience because there's that half that's water,
Right.
and there's just that faint hint of apple at the end, which to me it's I'd almost rather just have it dissolved in just that half of that's water, right? That's my personal preference of it. I just think the apple takes a little bit away, but overall, it's still a very, very good cider. I don't think you could do better as a cider. Maybe is the better way to put it. It's less of a critique. I think it's better as a mead, but I don't think I could make a cider that doesn't have that exact same flaw of there's going to be a little apple flavor to it because it is a cider.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that would be the one thing I would change if I was trying to go straight for a creamsicle and not have this be its own thing. I enjoy it for being its own thing. And just to point out how good this is, you just crush the glass.
Yeah, no, it's delicious. It's really good.
It is absolutely fantastic. And most 1911 ciders are. As a matter of fact, Recodling was my or Ricodling or whatever, however you say it.
Hmm.
That was like my go-to flavored cider before I discovered these. And since I've discovered these, I don't think I've bought a Ricodling
Yeah.
because these are just so good. And I've had tons of different ones. There's a couple that didn't hit good, but I think that's just the way it is with any brewery.
Oh yeah.
Um, but man, this is really good.
It is very good.
If you like stuff that's like a little bit of a funky mix or something like that, you should try this.
Hmm.
I don't even know like how to describe it other than it's a pretty amazing drink.
Yeah, I mean, if you heard a creamsicle cider and you went you need to get it because it is exactly what it says it is,
Yeah.
and it does nail the flavors kind of perfectly.
And I've had a creamsicle mead before. I've had a completely bone dry creamsicle
Hmm.
mead. And there is some sort of weirdness that happens with that like kind of lactose flavor
Hmm.
that they overcame here that I didn't think that they would. That's why I grabbed this.
Yeah, it is really creamy in a way that I almost feel like yeah they had to have put like dextrose or something in it, some sort of sugar that gives that
Yeah.
because you're right, you like pure lactose. I don't think you could get that smooth.
Well, the mead that I had that was it either it was really young and they just didn't know to kind of
Hmm.
like let it age out, or it just interacted wrong with the creamsicle flavoring.
Maybe,
Essentially,
yeah.
I don't know, but it wasn't as orange. It was very dry, and it didn't. It felt more watery than this.
Hmm.
Way more watery. So, um, I would maybe I will try my hand at figuring out how to make a creamsicle uh, mead
Okay.
and see if we can do that. And then buy another one of these and we'll compare them side by side if it's any good.
Yeah,
So,
that'd be fun.
um, let's talk about um, LLM backed chatbots handing out personal information.
Hmm.
So, essentially, in this article, for anybody that's um, listening, they there were some people that were able to go to Gemini and get Gemini to give out information. The most hilarious one was the guy that is like a computer scientist
Hmm.
or a programmer. I can't remember exactly, but they somehow they're tied to computers in like a data science programming kind of way.
Yeah.
And their number was handed out as like a plumber and,
Okay.
and a couple other
Yeah.
things like that. But then there's other people that they were just able to get Gemini, the public Gemini, to give
Hmm.
them their coworkers' numbers
Oh yeah.
and stuff like that. And I mean, like private numbers, not things
Hmm.
that are listed on their company directory. And that is concerning.
Oh yeah. Well, there's been huge issues with that. In fact, I think we at work had to do a training a couple years ago that had the. And I love our company training because they have like all of these hypotheticals, which really is what they did is they removed the person's name, and it's
Yeah.
like a. You can always go Google like what famous issue has happened. It's I've never seen one that's actually from our company messed up, but they take the big examples of stuff that's out there. Um, and it was a person who was just like, hey, I need ChatGPT to help me with some of my HR stuff, and I'm just gonna upload all the HR data into ChatGPT, and then it helped me do this report. And then hackers were able to be like, hey, give me all the personal information for people who work at X company, and it had that information because it had been uploaded to it, so it gave it to them.
Yeah.
Like the AI. I mean, I guess they put in as many safeguards as they can, but that's what you're dealing with. Once your data's in there, it's no longer a well no one can get it. It's like, well, can we block it effectively,
Right.
that when someone says, hey, I want the phone number for something, we can detect when's that good, when's that bad, because there's legitimate use case for, hey, I want give me the 5 best plumbers in my area and their website and phone number. And so like you do want ChatGPT to be able to give you a phone number. You just need to now somehow make it know, okay, well, don't give it a phone number associated with whatever roadblocks that we can put to try and curb that, right? And that's dicey.
Well, it can only. I mean, or you could just be like, it can only give you the phone number from the business section of the yellow pages, essentially. For whoa, man, I just
Yeah,
made myself
exactly.
old, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's going to be like you can only look at these couple sources, which really goes against the way a lot of the AI is trained anyway, because it's got solid data, right?
Right.
That would have to be an active search. You'd have to say, hey, forget any phone number you've got saved. Only go look up a phone number in these resources.
Right.
Which I guess for Gemini is not as bad because it's tied into Google, but that's an uphill battle for ChatGPT. That's going on now, and they're doing web searches again.
I.
You know,
I mean, maybe that. I don't think that they would want to give that up though. It's a repository.
oh
Of
no,
all
they
this
definitely
data.
don't want to give it up. That's what I'm saying. It's like even the only safeguards you can truly have, which would be something like that, saying you can't give out phone numbers unless they come from this or that source. That's very limiting.
But even then, you could get around that unless it just has no way of accessing that information and it's wiped from it. Like the cat's out of the bag.
Yeah,
All of our
exactly.
personal information is. It doesn't matter if there was a leak. Every bit of our personal information is on the web
Oh yeah, it's
in
there.
a way that these chatbots are taking it, and these LLMs are consuming it. They've been trained on it, and now they can give it back if someone just knows how to trick the computer well enough.
Yep.
Which is fairly simple.
Yeah, I mean it's not a great space to be in.
Yeah.
I think people got really lax with privacy and security and stuff on the internet. Kind of for maybe 5 years before AI kind of really became a thing, which inadvertently was when AI was being trained.
Right.
It wasn't available to us yet, but that's when they were grabbing the data and doing everything. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff already out there, and people are very accidentally just putting even more stuff they shouldn't put in there.
Yeah,
So
for real.
I'm not surprised. That'd be a fun little test for us though. Is we should go see if we can get AI to give us any of our personal information.
I'm afraid to do it, but yeah, I guess I'll have to go do.
Yeah, I'd rather know now. So if I find out my phone number's out there and get a new phone number,
Yeah.
something like that.
So PSA, your personal information is probably able to be retrieved through whatever current Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude. I don't even know what to do about that at this point. I mean, there's not a defense other than to get rid of your or poison your information. I guess there would be a defense to poison your information, but then that makes it harder for people to figure out how to contact you. It's just a mess. It's just a
Do
mess.
it right now.
So, well, I am going to let Ricky do that. I'm going to just sit here and babble on for a few seconds while he goes and looks up the Chat GPT Gemini equivalent of, look for my personal information. Our next topic is going to be Christian only mobile networks. And the idea here is that a Christian only network will be able to get rid of any sensitive thing that the religious people don't want to. They called it a Jesus focused network that gets rid of LGBTQ, trans, porn, and all sorts of other things like that. And while I hear what they're saying, I think they've missed the plot a little bit by segmenting themselves off from everything else. However, I can see the advantages of doing something like this because then it kind of becomes your own private network where you essentially are, not just segmented off, but you control that flow of data. It's kind of like what they do in some of these Middle Eastern countries and other more authoritarian countries, but it's being done by a private entity. And whether I agree with their stance on stuff or not, it is like one of those things where if people are subscribing to that, it's kind of their freedom to do that, and they're not demanding that this stuff gets taken away from everyone else. So that could open up, things more on the World Wide Web to be more open and free in places where they've done censorship things like, in a bunch of the states in America, they've censored pornography so that you can't just access it without having your ID verified and stored They're also starting to do some things where they're making it so that you um, are having to store your ID or somehow verify your age and who you are when you install an operating system. Things like that. While I don't think we're going to get away from those things, this is a better solution in my mind if you want to be segmented away
Hmm.
from those things to like actually do it. I mean, the best solution is you take personal accountability and practice self control. And if you can't
Yeah.
practice self control, practice abstinence of the thing that you have no control over. As an example, I am. You give me a bear claw, and no matter how diabetic I am super tempted to eat that bear claw. They are like one of my favorite things. Cinnamon rolls also,
Hmm.
and because of that, I don't have cinnamon rolls in my house. I don't keep bear claws around.
Mm.
They can be made like once or twice a year, and I just acknowledge that I will eat them, and that's fine. I'll go run like 6 miles, that day or whatever I need to do. Go lift a bunch of weights to try to not just burn off those calories, but also that sugar. But when you think about like that in the context of this like kind of Christian only mobile network, network itself, because it's essentially what it is.
Yeah.
Basically, what they're saying is, in my house, I'll have no, bear claws. I'll have none of this.
Hmm.
I'll have none of that. And anyone else that comes in here can't bring those with them. You know,
Yeah.
where I think the better approach is, in my house, I'll have none of this, and I just recognize that I'm weak to it. So if someone brings it in, they have to take it with them when they leave. You know, but I don't know. I babbled on a
Mm.
good bit about it. Well, first of all, you looked
Okay.
yourself up. What did you
First
find in
off,
Gemini?
tried to do ChatGPT and Gemini. Both of them rebuffed me about they cannot access internal stores of information about people, and but they did do public lookups, and those returned nothing.
Okay,
So I am happy with the at least for simple prompts.
right.
I'm sure there's a way you can engineer your way around it, but you don't have to worry about just a random person you met is now chat GPTing your name and trying to find out stuff about you, unless you come up on those public searches.
Yeah,
But then also if you do, then if you're vulnerable to someone Googling your name, the AI is not really going to help you.
right.
The information's out there.
I think it's more. Uh, so if if a smart person, you don't even have to be really that smart. If a person who knows how to leverage the prompt engineering that
Yeah,
can trick these things used it, it would be able to get past any of these.
probably. But I get back to the earlier point though. Of like if your data's leaked, it's here in the AI.
Yeah,
There's at least enough simple safeguards that someone who's just asking a passive question can't get through. You'd have to go to the length of prompt engineering something to try and get past it, which maybe I'll play around with in my spare time. But okay, but I'm happy with that. Um, but yeah, to the next topic, I agree in the sense that I think if you decide you don't want to consume a particular thing, like, and you want to sign up for a voluntary service that doesn't allow you to get to that thing, that's a okay. Can we say morally maybe some stuff going on with blocking access to certain topics is maybe like not something I agree with, definitely. But I do understand the want or need for a service that lets you block certain things out. Because I'm going to use your bear claw example. I think that's a wonderful example for most things in your life that are physical. Like if you have a drinking problem, you're not going to buy any alcohol. If someone brings alcohol with them, they need to leave with it. Something like that. Or drugs or any other thing that's a physical thing. I think the problem you get when something is digital and one click away is people with really addictive personalities can, if you have, like, let's say you, Joe, if you have 5 minutes of weakness, you did not produce a bear claw in those 5 minutes, right? Like you really wanted that bear claw. Maybe you got in the car, maybe you were driving to the bakery. But you've got all this time and multiple interactions to come around and say like, I shouldn't have got that bear claw.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe like you bought some like little Pillsbury cinnamon rolls and now you're preheating the oven, but you still got all these steps in time between you and the thing you don't want. In the digital era, like let's say like you're real bad about like online casinos or something, you can be on that website and take your first spin in 30 seconds. And even if 5 minutes later you come around, well, you've been gambling for 5 minutes and maybe you've already lost $100.
Yeah.
So like I can understand at a conceptual level why you might want to have a service that says, "Hey, I want to block these things I know I'm vulnerable to, and I can't undo it." Because that's really the big problem with people trying to install like filters on their computer and stuff like that. Is you've got the password and it's still digital. You've introduced the one extra step, which is to put in the admin password, which takes you 5 seconds, right, or something like that. That's why like all these the filters on school stuff don't work.
Right.
Is because the kids can take a couple minutes and figure it out, or if you want to unlock it, you can unlock it pretty easy because it's designed to be unlocked. So I think I would prefer to see a service that's really more like, hey, we've got these like 8 buckets of things. There's like porn and gambling and maybe like short form content because a lot of people get addicted to like shorts and things like that. And yada yada. And we've got whatever in this list. And when you sign up for our service, you pick which things you don't want access to. And once you've made that original decision, you signed up for our service, you're locked in. You can't go back and change it. You got to cancel the service to get that stuff back.
Well, that's exactly what I was saying. Mm-hmm. Like the service and you choosing to be part of that service is a better solution than getting something that is just a whole blanket that comes across everyone. So, for instance, the statewide bans on pornography versus signing up for a service that blocks pornography for you.
Exactly.
Because that's your problem, not Bob's problem over here.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. I think the sweeping legislation is problematic. I'll say for most things it's problematic. I'm getting to the point I'm not sure I would necessarily be against like large sweeping bans on digital betting because that's getting pretty bad and like it's pretty predatory, especially like a lot of these online sports betting places. I deep dived on that because I'm not really into sports, but I do like little slot machines and things like that. So I was just like, man, I'm really hearing people. I'm seeing a lot of sports betting commercials, which is the thing that was getting me. Because, like, I know you can't just go up and, like, advertise you've got, like, slot machines. It's like, but, man, this is gambling. And I'm like, I'm just on regular TV, and I'm just getting ad after ad after ad for sports betting. What's actually going on here? And, they found the loopholes to get through it. But then the deeper you dive in, you're like, hey, we're super happy for you to lose all your money. But like, oh, did you have like a really big win? Cool, here's your payout. You're banned from our platform.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like getting kicked out of a casino in real life, except that generally those aren't like permanent bans.
Yep.
And most of the time you don't get kicked out unless they find you're cheating or something. These apps are even worse. They're like, hey, we're going to do something that we know is going to like is addictive, just factually is addictive. We're going to get around all the vice laws because of like where we host the information and stuff like that. And, if somehow you actually are good enough at sports that you can consistently make money off of this, we're kicking you out. We're not going to let you do that. It's so predatory. I'm kind of almost at that point where I'm just like, yeah, we could not do this. Kind of the same way I feel about like the premium currencies you can only use on loot boxes in children's games and stuff like that. Eventually, at some point, you just say, hey, this is actually actively hurting tons of people.
So while I am like all for us taking societal steps to stop things like that, I think when you're talking about a freedom versus addiction kind of standpoint, the point that I was making is if you are a person who is easily swayed by certain things, or you've got an addictive personality, or you've got a problem, no amount of banning this, no amount of legislation will stop you from doing those sorts of things. Now, there is a middle ground of the person who is going to try it once or, something like that and lose a ton of stuff and it becomes a problem, or they spend all their spare money on, you know, um, things and they don't see a problem with it. So whether it's loot boxes or gambling or
Yeah.
whatever, and that becomes kind of an addictive personality problem and stuff like that. And like you can take away the sports betting and they're going to find Beanie Babies. Like they're going to
Mm-hmm.
find something that they're going to pour that energy into. And what I was saying is the solution to things like that, in my opinion, and I don't know if this is actually accurate or not. I could be wrong. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not a psychologist or psychiatrist. Is not to do legislation. It's to do things that help that give people the tools to like actually overcome that and to give them the willpower to say no. I'm going to abstain from that. And if they can't, they recognize it. They put themselves in a place where they don't do that sort of thing. And if someone brings it around, then they can say, I appreciate that. I'm sorry. I'm not going to participate in this, and like they remove themselves or they ask the person to take it away so that it's not near them. Um, and I'm not an addict. I don't have really an addictive personality, so I don't
Yeah.
know what it's like to be like that. Like the worst thing I have is like there's some foods that I'm like, oh my god, I love that food,
Mm-hmm.
so much. I don't have anything that I'm like, I just can't resist it, right?
Yeah.
So it could be that um, I'm not the right person to talk about that also. So I recognize that. I'm not saying that's the 100% the solution. But I also know for a fact that like taking people's freedom away just puts them in a place where they're going to break those rules. Um,
Yeah. Like I'm not necessarily for tons of sweeping legislation. I think we just really have a problem in the digital space. Because when you take like we brought gambling, let's forget about digital gambling. Let's say you've got a gambling problem and you love to go to Las Vegas and stuff like that, and you spend way too much money, and that's a problem for you. When you enter into some of these like gambling, recovery services, sure, there's a lot of stuff that goes into like raising your willpower to tempt away from it. But also, those organizations are able to go through and they call the casinos and say, "Hey, you got to put this person on your no gamble
yeah,
list," and that happens. They remove them from it. If you're an alcoholic, the first thing they tell you, you got to not go to bars anymore.
right,
You need to, and that's kind of the thing that we talk about physical addictions, and you brought like food addiction. That's what makes food addiction so shitty. Is that like you can't just not eat,
right,
right? So like there's things to it there, but with some of these more like the digital avenues to do things, it's there has to be something that we figure out as a society that's the equivalent of, hey, this person signed up for, Alcohol Anonymous, and that means they can't access this thing anymore because that's really what they need as part of their recovery.
yeah,
And so we not necessarily needing it to like be banned everywhere. There's got to be something like that because even to food addiction, I mean, a lot of people who have overcame food addiction have fallen back into it post COVID because they got used to ordering food
right,
because it does that same thing. In fact, I'll give you that one on the bear claws. You have a lot of steps you have to take to get down to the bakery to get the bear claw. In those 5 minutes of weakness, you can get Uber Eats to be sending you some bear claws, and then they're going to show up at your house, and you've already spent
yep.
money for them, and then you shouldn't eat them, but at that point you have them. You've already spent the money on them. It would be a waste to just throw them in the trash. Then like that's the addictive mindset that takes over for you, um, and that is what I kind of worry about, like the digital era.
I know I'm not disagreeing with you on that. I was just more pointing out that okay. So back to the original topic just for a minute, and then
Mm-hmm.
I'll address what you just said because it's kind of two different things. When you're talking about something that's like a personal problem, making it everyone else's problem is not good.
Yes.
So if you have a solution where you can segment yourself off and you can go to your own thing, or you can put your kids on it because you don't want them
Mm-hmm.
to be exposed to certain things, that's a better solution than making everyone else deal with it.
Yes, I do agree with that. If we could have widespread opt-in solutions, it's probably better. It's not better for the people who are struggling with the addiction, but it is a better balance of individual versus group.
Exactly. When you're talking about addiction, you can't make someone do something when it comes to stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if I if I really was addicted to bear claws, and it just wasn't like something that's like my favorite food,
Yeah.
right? And I recognize that. If I was someone who went down that rabbit hole of, man, I can do this, I can make this excuse for me getting it. I can
Mm-hmm.
not exercise my willpower. I don't have any checks and balances. My wife doesn't have the app on her phone and I don't have it on mine, whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is, right? If it really was something like that, and I haven't taken any steps to keep myself away from those things, I'm still going to indulge in those things
Mm-hmm.
eventually. John Mulaney famously talks about his addiction to cocaine and how he could do that. He could just dial up and have a person
Yeah.
come and bring him cocaine. And he had like an intervention and a whole bunch of other stuff. Because he wants to be clean, he went through a program,
Mm-hmm.
and got help and did all this other stuff, but he still really wants that cocaine,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, like, it's these two diametric things. And so he's had to get all these people that agree to help him to do this, so because he doesn't have the willpower to not do it.
Yep.
So he's created systems that help him to like buff his willpower essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that is what it is with all this other stuff. If you've got an addiction to gambling, and we do a widespread legislation that bans all sports gambling, right? You're going to go on to gamble on something else, or you're going to find ways to go to places to sports gamble, right? Like there'll still be illegal places, there'll still be stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Really, the thing that stuff like that is going to help are the people in the middle that I was talking about. The people that they don't really have a full blown addiction, or they're just starting their addiction and they have just enough ability with just a tiny bit of help to just kind of stop. If there's even any resistance, it keeps them from doing the thing that they're going to do. It's kind of like if they can't look it up easily, they're not going to get the person's phone number. Well, they're not really a stalker, anyways. They're just interested in whatever this thing is. They're doing something
Mm-hmm.
creepy, but they're interested in that thing. It's not good, but it like because you put that barrier there, they're going to stop, right? You put the barrier for alcohol there, they're going to stop. They're not going to do
Mm-hmm.
it. You put the barrier for gambling there, they're going to stop. So I agree with you on those societal steps for those people, like and that group that's in between the actual addict that will do anything to get their addiction, and the person who can just abstain from it because they
Yeah.
and that's a huge number. That's like a lot of people don't have willpower anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the barrier for willpower is constantly going down. I think that's really the better way to put it. I don't think people lack more willpower than people used to. I think what it is to it is so easy to do the thing you shouldn't do now, and it really have no negative impact on pretty much anyone but yourself. In even if you go back 100 years, when you are part of a local community, unless you are wealthy enough to really travel, your local community is where you're at for most of your life, interacting with people there. And if you're going to be doing something, you're going to have to be doing it with somebody else, right? And like opportunities only present themselves to you when they're also presented to other people around you, and like everything like that. It's a lot of that. I've got time to say no.
Yeah,
In the world we live in now, you don't really have those type of barriers anymore. Because even to your note of like, hey, if you're really, really addicted and we ban online sports betting, you'll go find a place to go do it in person. Okay, that's valid. If you're addicted to it enough, you will go seek out another way to get it. But now you're back into that physical space of, well, you got to go find a place that's doing it. You've got to get transportation to get it there. They're going to be dealing with cash and not directly from your cards. You need to be going to the bank to get cash out of the bank. Like, it's a lot more steps. And those people that kind of sit in that middle who are like, they'll dabble in it and then they'll find out whether it's addictive for them. The barrier to do that is lower and lower and lower.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, when you ban it, it becomes higher and higher and higher for them.
Well, yeah. If you ban it, then it becomes hard. What I'm saying is, right now, today, the barrier is super low. There are just on primetime television. I'm going to go sit and watch a basketball game with my daughter. She's getting sports betting ads.
Yeah,
she's
that's really the problem right there. Is like it's like the we didn't even discuss kids. We just talked about like general people. Kids are where the loot boxes, the gambling, the dopamine, deficiencies, all that other stuff are really hitting hard. I mean, we are like social media has already caused so much damage to children just from them being exposed to it. It's like secondhand smoke.
Yeah, exactly. They see it. My daughter was talking to another kid at tutoring, and the other kid was asking her about which brain rots do you like.
Yeah.
And brain rots are just they're almost like these little AI memes that are designed to be just little crappy memes.
Yeah.
But to kids, they became a thing.
Like, it's hilarious, like Pokemon. And they give them a dopamine hit.
Yeah, it was like, oh, which ones do you like? Like, which ones have you seen? The cow that's in a dress or like whatever and stuff like that. And not to bring it necessarily towards the kids' direction, but it's just at a certain point, I do think at a societal level we have to draw lines.
Yeah.
I agree with you that, you don't want a super heavy hand. But like looking at things that have generally gone really well, we classify medications. If we know we're going to be giving you a medicine that's addictive, there's some additional hoops to go through to get that to protect you from chemical addiction. Like, if we're going to advertise something online, it has to list like the negatives with it. So like there used to be, medical ads for take this and it will fix all of your problems and that's it. Now, there's a ton of legal loopholes to go through if you want to advertise something like a medication. We try and contain things down to kids, and I think that's where this overstep in government has come from, is that we're putting in these things that were less serious to try and keep kids away from things that didn't work. So now they're going too hard, and it kind of still doesn't work in a lot of ways. It's I think when we talk about the physical world, I agree with you 100% on every single thing that you've said. But as soon as it can show up on your tablet, there's now this area that I don't think any of us have really solved yet. And I think what we're talking about here in this topic is a really good step. It's probably the best thing I've seen put forward of a real serious opt-in. And once you're in, you can't get out.
Or you can put your kids into it.
Or anyone. It's like who the person is to put yourself in it doesn't matter. There's now this service you can sign up for that the service is designed this way. There's no takesy backsies. There's, you got to go get a new phone number and a new phone if you want to have access to this thing, which again puts in those physical barriers of now, okay, well, I got to call a new provider. A lot of them want you to come in person to pick out your phone in the store and things like that. Now there's real significant barriers that you've opted into. So, again, moralistically, I don't necessarily agree with this particular solution, but I do agree with the concept of this solution.
I think when you said like you disagree with me, I don't actually think that we disagree. I think the nuance here is I'm explaining like the more nuance of the psychology there, like the addiction psychology. Like there's only this group of people in the middle that this is going to help. It's not like restricting the people that are on the willpower end. It doesn't do anything because they're going to abstain from this anyways if they don't want to deal with it. And if they do want to deal with it, they're not going to use your service. And restricting the people that are on the other end, they're going to find a way to get around it because they're addicted to it. So you're not like really dealing with either of those people. You're dealing with all the people in the middle. I agree that the digital stuff has to have something that happens to it. Like if we decide to ban sports betting as a society, that is great. That's a little bit different than the topic that we're talking about here.
Yeah.
That I don't have a problem with banning loot boxes. I wasn't I wasn't arguing against that. I was just saying that's slightly different than what we're talking about.
Yeah. Well, then let me dial into one thing. I think we have just one very specific thing we're disagreeing on, and it's that you're only helping that middle group. I think you're helping both the kind of middle group and the have already lost control group, because while yes, there will be some people in the already addicted group who are able to get around whatever it is, either because of where they're located has options or things like that. There are going to be people that when you restrict the easy access that are in the addicted group do not have the means to still get to the thing. Right? And it might not be a huge percentage of those people. You know, I don't have the research in front of me. But like if you were used to going to the grocery store, like you go down to the vape shop and you're used to getting, you know, these off-brand chemical things that really shouldn't exist, you know, where someone synthesized a drug that they haven't made illegal yet, type of things. And that's, you know, what you do, and that's how you get your fix, is you just go down to the little 7-Eleven on the corner or something like that. And then, you know, again, we don't have good real-world solutions at this point in time. But, you know, you wave the magic wand and you say, hey, we found a way that none of that stuff is legal anymore. And, you know, maybe now everything you sell in a convenience store has to be FDA approved or like something like that. That person who is really crafty and really well connected and is like, well, I bet I can find somebody in my circle who will give it to me illegally. Sure, yeah, you can't help that person because they're in a situation they can get the other thing. But if you're just that person that, hey, look, my only real access to this stuff was just right at the vape store that's on the corner. I can walk to it every day after I get off of work. And now, you know, as much as I love this thing, now that it's gone, I don't have an avenue to get it anymore. You know, those people do get helped. And that is how a lot of people get out of addiction. And that's how we see, when you look at things exactly like that used to be legal and are now illegal, that is what gets a lot of people out of it. Is that, you know, at a certain level, it gets restricted enough that a lot of people just don't have access to it anymore. Like, I forget what it, there's one going through it right now that's getting lawsuits on it because it's some, like, has an energy drink in it, but it's got some, like, herb in it that has incredibly addictive properties. And now they're getting, like, class action lawsuited. But the way that the people talk about it, the way I knew I was addicted and the way I finally got out of it was the store that was carrying it stopped carrying it. And then I couldn't get it anymore. And then I realized how much I wanted it. And that's what made me realize I was addicted. Because I was in denial about being addicted. Because it was just being sold in the store. So I thought it was okay. Everybody's doing it. And that was my road to recovery.
So I'm lumping those people into the middle. And
okay.
You're
so maybe that's the
difference
maybe that's the
extreme addiction. Yeah, I'm putting those people in the middle. Okay. I'm saying they're in that middle ground that would be helped by these sorts of things, and the people on the extreme ends wouldn't be helped.
Yeah, gotcha. Then really, our extreme ends are no longer about willpower and current level of addiction. We're just breaking it up into what is a very classical 3 categories of a people who don't need an intervention.
Right.
People who an intervention would be helpful to them.
Right.
And those people that are so far gone, any reasonable intervention wouldn't do it.
Sure. Yeah, that could be a way of explaining the 3 different categories.
Yeah, looking at it like that, I'd say we're 100% agreeing.
Yeah.
I think maybe then the only place we're really disagreeing is when is someone so far gone that a reasonable intervention doesn't impact them.
Well, but
where do we draw the line on what we consider someone's addicted to something is maybe a better way to say it.
It really wouldn't matter what our definition is. If the person's helped by that, then it helped them.
Well, no, but in the terms of us discussing it, it matters because that's the point we're arguing. That's where we're going back and forth.
I guess I was just saying I really wasn't arguing it. I was just saying this is the thing that we're looking at here, and this is going to help those people. Like something like having one of these options, being able to get into it.
Oh, definitely.
That's like the best thing. It's like you get the best bang for your buck for those middle ground people and the people on especially the people on the we have no need for this in because they're not subjugated to that.
Yeah, exactly.
It lets them keep all their freedom while the people in the middle.
Yeah, they can just be on regular T-Mobile, and then people with addiction problems sign up for Addiction Mobile or whatever you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
So like it does the best. And if we had ISPs like that, that would be fantastic because then the people that don't have a problem, or if you need to put your kids on something like that, you don't have to go to any sort of, you know, links. You can just subscribe
Yeah.
them to the, you know, Addiction Mobile and Addiction ISP, and
Yeah, which a lot of mobiles are getting to ISP. So in all honesty,
yeah,
get your home network on a little 5G addiction mobile, and yeah, I think we're in agreement with that. We've talked a lot of philosophy to get to
yeah,
this again
to get to the point that we're agreeing. Yeah,
we agree that a service like this, not necessarily this service, is
yeah,
pretty valuable.
yeah. I this is not the first one I've seen, but this is the first one that's like we're doing this because
Yeah,
there's other ones
there's
that
been
are
a lot
out
of
there.
talk about them.
Yeah, but this is the first one that seems to be taking the steps to actually like do something like this, which again, the concept of the service is great.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily agree with the philosophy behind what they're saying, even though I do identify in a lot of ways with that like group. I'm not. I don't agree with a lot of the things that they do. So
Yeah.
like. This is probably not as good as it, but it could be a good concept if we just went down that road.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think we beat this one to death. So this has been season 9, episode 6 of the Beer and Broadband podcast. It's slated to come out on May 25th, 2026. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Oh, wait, we forgot to talk about the warmed up cider.
Okay.
We forgot to talk about the warmed up beer last time, which it didn't really change. It was basically the same sort of flavor. So
I like it less warm. I think warm, the apple comes out more, the orange goes down a little bit.
yeah, this one's better cold. The creaminess goes away too. It becomes more dry, which is akin to the problem I had with the warm creamsicle mead.
Yeah,
It's a similar kind of situation. Not exactly, but very similar.
No, I think you're 100% right. The vanilla is still there, but the creaminess is gone.
Yeah. I don't hate it, but it's definitely a cold cider.
Yeah, it's still good. I mean, if you served it to that way originally, I'd still really like it.
Yeah.
But it is better cold.
Not it like it made it go from like a 4 or 5 star to like a 3-4 star.
Yeah.
Anyways, so all the things I said about season 9, episode 6 before, and thanks so much for listening. We'll catch you next time.